Welcome to Little Victories, the self-help comedy podcast that proves success isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Hosted by fast-talking firecracker Richie DeFrisco and the ever-sly Pat the Cat Murray with the Pat Facts. This is Little Victories.
And welcome back to the Little Victories podcast. I am your host, Richie D.
Pat the Cat.
Pat Murray, a special guest today. This is the episode that will go down in history as the episode that practically almost never happened due to me oversleeping, due to the traffic in the area, due to our guests going to the wrong city, etc., etc., etc.
I even forgot to put it in my calendar.
I forgot my money. The car was on empty. This is the miracle episode. So our guest today, another artist. We know here at Little Victories, we're very artist-based. That's our foundation. We're artists. This man is a master of tattooing. This is our first tattoo artist on the platform. I waited diligently to get the guy that I needed for the episode. He is loved by the community of Westchester County, Yonkers. He is a curator, owner of the one and only Hard Knox Tattoo Studio on Central Avenue. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to let the man introduce himself. We're very honored to have Mr. John Sweeney, a.k.a. Sween Dog.
Sween Dog.
Hi.
John, welcome.
Thank you. Honored to be here,
You
man.
made it.
Honored to be here.
You made it. You were in White Plains.
I was in White Plains.
You were in the
Because,
wrong municipality.
Even when I talked to you yesterday, hey, Mamaroneck Avenue, it's right here by this thing, you know, the Arts Center. Oh, I know where that is. Yeah, it's in White Plains.
And I
Had the right avenue, just the wrong town.
I have more. I don't know if I have more of an excuse. I work overnight for the audience that doesn't know because I'm basically Ed Norton from Fight Club. That I have insomnia. I work 2 jobs. I don't sleep. And I was, by a miracle, woken up by our French producer 20 minutes prior, and I drove 90 miles an hour to get here. So this is going to be the most important episode we've ever done because it wasn't supposed to happen. Hard Knox Tattoo Studio opened up, being that you're the curator, the owner, how long ago?
Summer of 2002.
2002.
So coming up
24
on,
years.
Coming up on 25 years next August.
Is this your first tattoo studio that you've owned?
No, actually. My first one was back in the late 90s. I started tattooing in 94. And back then it was illegal. It wasn't legal in New York to tattoo till 98. So back there in 94 and just messing around, you know, learning how to tattoo and everything. And we had a shop inside a pool hall in Yonkers on Upper Hand Avenue. And that was the first shop that I had, but it was just kind of fly-by-night, a couple of friends just doing tattoos and word of mouth, no advertising, nothing. So
Underground, like the Prohibition
underground.
era.
You had to because you couldn't do it legally.
I didn't even know that because everybody had tattoos.
Everybody had tattoos from underground shops
From
down the city.
from
There were
underground
hundreds of
shops.
artists doing it underground down there. You look at all the artists from back in the day in New York City, they're all underground tattoo artists. You know, like that's the way the art was.
And it's kind of I guess in tandem with, you know, the idea of like, oh, you know, you're permanently tattooing your skin, that whole rebel thing of like, oh, you have to do it underground, it's illegal. It kind of you kind of stood out. You could probably get a really hot girlfriend with some illegal tattoos on you at the time.
Me?
Because you were the
No.
you've actually as the tattoo master of Westchester County, you've had tattoos that you've actually removed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, modern tattooing itself, I mean, you pulled me into this with some Pat facts right off the bat here. You know, as John had mentioned, right, there was that 36-year ban in New York City. So I have here from 1961 until 1998. It was 97, actually, the year I was born, to finally have the New York City Council legalize and regulate tattooing, which in and of itself, you know, for your industry and for your work was definitely instrumental.
Right.
You know, but it was still going on, obviously. I mean, I think just it's human nature that, you know, if something is outlawed or illegal, that, you know, we still find a way to do it. So you had that first underground shop, still doing your thing, and then as you learned your craft, you transitioned into that business owner.
Right.
Little Victories. We have to ask. At that time, especially doing these things that kind of were illegal. I mean, we think back to Tat's crew and them doing graffiti and all that. That their art found a way despite the culture. As you worked on the art form, how did you go from artist to owner?
By accident, man, really. I didn't even know. Like I always say, I got into tattooing by accident. Primarily, I was an airbrush artist back in the 90s and painted a lot of tow trucks. You ever see the old chase trucks around the Bronx that had the graphics on them and the characters, cartoon characters and stuff? I worked with a guy, Andre Green, who was master pinstriper, airbrush guy who did a lot of truck lettering in the Bronx. I linked up with him in the early 90s, started working with him, taught me the airbrush. I started airbrushing with him, and I became his artist. So 90% of those chase trucks in the Bronx back in the day were my artwork going around on them, and Andre's lettering and pinstriping. A lot of people didn't know that. So, and I was happy doing airbrushing, Then it kind of parlayed into motorcycles, into hot rods, race cars, everything that could be airbrushed. I was airbrushing, sign work, metal signs for businesses. And I always say, like, I'd be airbrushing a motorcycle for some Harley guy, and he's sitting there, and I'm doing a skull on the tank, and he's got a skull on his arm, and he's going, how come the skull on my arm looks like this, and the one on the tank looks so nice? And I said, well, it's a different medium. It's airbrush, and that's tattooing. I don't know anything about tattooing. And everybody I did work for back then was going, you'd be a great tattoo artist. I'm like, why do I got to change mediums? Why can't I just be an airbrush guy, So
I was going to ask, like, how do those skills kind of transfer?
It's a big learning curve. The tools are the main thing to get you. So your art's always going to stay with you, Like, if you're an artist, you're an artist. It doesn't matter what tool you put in your hand, in the artist's hand, they're going to learn it. If they learn the tool, the art's still there, Give somebody a paintbrush, I didn't know how to oil paint. I met Alex Rios, who worked at my shop. He was an oil painter and tattoo artist, and kind of picked his brain on oil painting, and next thing I was doing oil paintings. But, it's all just learning the tool.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm fascinated by is the transitioning from one medium to next, because the art, and I thought that myself, because you look into our platform, and the artists that we have are substantial people. Like, I didn't even realize we would be able to get the people that we've had on this show.
Right.
And easily, and this is why I'm kind of married to it, is because the most supportive people we have, alongside animal rescue organizations and people that are technically friends of ours, is the artists. The artists that we've had are extremely supportive of our platform, what we do here. We should have Up Magazine coming up in a few episodes, I believe, as well, and it's incredible what they've done and what they've created as a voice for artists within the city.
Right.
But the mix, because I always wanted to be this graffiti artist, because growing up in the Bronx, that's what we seen. And that's what we kind of aspired to. But wow, I want to be able to. Most people never made it to a level of, like, they're legit graffiti artists, and very few make it to the level of Bio, Nice, VG, etc.
Yeah.
Because there's levels to the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same thing with tattooing. I spoke with you about this yesterday. Is that there are people that are going to tattoo their whole lives, and they never make it to your level.
Yeah.
Because your work speaks for itself. You are the guy where you're booked way far in advance, and everybody in this complete area know who John Sweeney is.
Yeah.
Anytime I show people your work, they're like, oh my God, who did that? I tell all the patients in the emergency room, well, as soon as you get better, make sure you get a tattoo by John Sweeney.
But I'm humble. I'm not that guy. Like,
No.
even now you're saying it, and it kind of, it's almost
There were
embarrassing.
tattoo
'cause I'm
artists. There was one tattoo artist. I wanted to kill this guy, and this guy is famous for being in the area. Very talented guy, but would literally take your something wrong with him, where he would start an outline, take all your money, and then disappear, and you couldn't find him. People wanted to kill him in the neighborhood for doing
sometimes
things
it's
like
not the level of talent that gets you to where you are. It's just a consistency.
Well, that's
You
the
know,
thing
it's
about
just-
Pat,
Yeah.
right? Pat's not funny at all, but he's consistent,
But he
and
shows up on time.
He shows up on time. So he ended up finding it. Like, he got into the job as a co-host, and now we can't get rid of him. So he's here.
I'm not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. If
So-
anything, they're trying to get rid of me.
Oh yeah, well,
Yeah.
the episode that almost didn't happen, or at least without you. You know, you mentioned it's by accident, but clearly it was, you know, people acknowledging your work and your skill and your talent, and just figure like, hey, you know, this is kind of like the budding trend,
Yeah.
right? You know, how would you describe your, you know, your style and kind of, you know, maybe like your favorite tattoos to do, or maybe one that stuck with you, like your most memorable one that you've given?
I'm gonna answer this.
You're gonna answer this.
I'm gonna answer this.
You don't know the
He
answer.
likes to tattoo porn stars on people. Should
you
I
got
tell
some-
the story?
You got something to show us?
I mean, maybe at some point, maybe we'll save for the end of the episode. I had my own little period of life where I lost my marbles. I had many years ago. It was like my first real relationship. I loved this girl to death, but she was a really bad girl. And when we didn't work out, which it was never supposed to, I completely lost my mind. And then I went on literally a $5,000 a month escort rant, tattooing half my body. I go to John Sweeney. I said I want a porn star tattooed on my arm. And it's a famous story because it practically got a virus on all of his computers just searching up images of what he would tattoo. And he put a vagina right on my forearm that's out in the open, breathing air. I said, this tattoo artist is going to be my tattoo artist for the rest of my life. He don't care. But that's the funny story about that. But he is a master of skulls and dark. In my opinion, your work is dark but clean.
Well, in the beginning, I did basically everything. You know, I did flash work, I did color work. It didn't matter what it was. Back then, tribal was big. You know, so a lot of people getting tribal. And then it's kind of got it. Then I started getting a better feel for it and what I enjoyed doing. And I enjoyed doing black and gray. You know, black and gray to me was more fun. Color it looked great, you know, when it was done, and it was, you know, it caught the eye, and everyone's like, wow, we did that. But over time, and now when I've been in this business long enough to see the test of time, you know, see tattoos 15, 20 years old, 30 years old, you know, like I started in 94. You don't think like, you know, 94, like tattoos back then, I see them now and I'm like, all right, the black one held up, the color one needs to be redone, you know, like, so that's where, first of all, nothing against color other than it doesn't do well in the sun.
No.
And a lot of people don't go around the rest of their lives like, I'm going to live the rest of my life protecting my tattoo. When it's done, a year later, you're out on a boat somewhere, you're not going to think about your tattoo. You're thinking about, you know, what kind of fish you're going to catch, you know, how many beers you're going to drink on the boat. You don't care about your tattoo anymore, you know? So that's why it's mostly, it's not a lot of times, sometimes it is the artist that did the tattoo wrong. But when it's done correctly and it fades, that's on the customer, you know? So a lot of people need to know the aftercare procedures of a tattoo, you know, how to prolong the life of it. It's going to be with you for life. You got to take care of it.
So I almost want to say, like, you have, just from us talking now, like this kind of bedside manner about, you know, giving these tattoos, in the sense that maybe, let's say, and you know, we were going to get to this point anyway. I don't have any tattoos. I don't plan on getting any.
Don't ruin yourself, man. You're perfect.
I appreciate that. You know, it's going to have to be a really tough point of I don't know. I don't know the exact perfect storm of bad times for me to I guess, you know, finally do it.
Yeah.
But like you know, the kind of the whole journey of, like, from inception to you know, the execution. You know, you mentioned like flash art, and that's like, you know, you walk in, it's like a barbershop too. Like, I want that cut, or I want that tattoo.
Right.
You know, as you work with new people or people that you've been working with, how does kind of that process go between, like, you know, what they want and then kind of your creative input?
Yeah, I liked more, like, when I opened my shop, because I worked for other shops too, and the only thing I learned in those shops was what not to do. You know, and like when you're trying to first come up, you're trying to learn things, but mainly what I learned was what not to do, how not to treat your artist, how not to treat a customer, you know? So when I opened my shop, I did have like flash designs on the wall, but I didn't want to be the run-of-the-mill tattoo shop with 4,000 designs on the wall, and then people just pick number 122, get this done, and then go to the beach next week and find somebody else with number 122 on their arm, done by a different shop, because all the shops had the same flash. So the flash I did have on the walls was from artists that were obscure. Guys out in California or in Europe, like you didn't find these things everywhere. They weren't just in a book like, I'm gonna get that one. So I try to get different art. But then from there, I noticed the more fun I had with it, were people that came in with just an idea, a basic idea. They didn't go to the wall and be like, this is what I want, but can you change this, this, and this? They just came with a basic idea and go, and this is before iPhones and internet. Like now they come in with an iPhone and go, how much for this?
Right.
Just before that, this is people just coming with a basic idea out of their head and say, here's my idea. I want to put this on my arm and twist it around to this, and make it look like this. And I would sit there and draw, pencil, pen, whatever. Draw up what I thought was in their head, and sometimes it was close, sometimes it was off, but we worked on it, And that's the tattoos I had the most fun with, picking something off the wall and sticking it on your arm, and and it's done. Anyone can kind of learn to do that. But when you just take an idea out of just someone's head and just draw it and be like, here, and now that's the person that's going to go out there into the world, and people are going to look at it and go, wow, that's different. Where'd you get that design? Like from my head, and the guy drew it up.
But when you first start, it's like so now you have your tools, your brushes, your spray cans, whatever you do, and now all of a sudden now you have a gun and you're cutting skin.
Yeah.
That first tattoo, that first moment where it's like I'm permanently tattooing ink inside someone's skin.
I'll send you that photo too.
We need to post that of your first tattoo. Is it scary? Because when I watch you guys tattoo me, it's like, how do they see what they're doing? Because as you're cutting, you can't see anything. It's just blood coming out and then ink everywhere.
You're gonna scare everyone out of getting tattooed.
Yeah, right?
There's blood shooting up at the ceiling, and it's blood everywhere.
I'm in a gown with a mask on.
I got a full face respirator on from the blood shooting at my face. And
no, the first one was one of my friends, actually. That one of those guys that always said you should get into tattooing. He was one of my only friends growing up that had tattoos. Nobody had tattoos. Like we were all just, guys that did, Irish guys, Irish American guys in the Bronx, and they last thing in my mind was I wanted to get a tattoo. One of my friends, Kyle, he had a big tattoo he had done down in the city, down at Rise and Dragon, who's still around today. That shop's famous, been around forever. Darren Rosa, good guy. So he got tattooed down there and came back to the neighborhood, and I'm like, whoa, tattoos, that's cool, man. But I didn't think about getting into tattoos then. I thought about, wow, that's cool. I think I want one. But I never thought like, hey, I should do those. Kyle was the first one of my friends that kind of planted that seed in my head and said, you should get into tattooing. And he would hound me get into tattooing. Stop doing this airbrush stuff, get into tattooing. So when I got the tattoo equipment finally, that was a whole other story. I get the tattoo equipment, I'm practicing on grapefruits in my house, in my apartment in the Bronx. And some friends came over because my apartment was usually pre-game, and then we go out to the bar, and everyone met at my place first. And Kyle went into my refrigerator to grab a drink, and he sees half a dozen tattooed grapefruits in there, and he says, when did you start tattooing, dude? And I was like, I didn't yet. I'm just practicing. You got to do my leg. Shin bone. That was my first tattoo.
Oh, wow.
Freehand design on his shin, and it's still there today, and he will not let me cover it up. Because he's like, if you ever get like world famous, I'm going to show up with this. If you get a big head, I'm going to show up with this. And I was like, all right, cool. Keep me grounded, so.
So it's grapefruits. That's how this starts.
That's how I learned.
Well, because I've heard like pig skin, right? All these things.
Stinky though, pig skin.
Oh yeah.
You tattoo it once, you gotta throw it out. Grapefruit, you can tattoo.
Is it easy to source? Is it? You have a
pig
pigskin guy?
I never really did the pigskin route. I just I did grapefruits and Kyle's shin.
that was a great. We just did an animal rescue, and you're already throwing animals.
Oh God, yeah, I know, right? Listen, what we do on this show, it all comes full circle. We're all able to, make those connections and things like that.
But like you said, the tools, right? Because this is now, because I'm just fascinated by tattooing because. The levels that you guys are doing work, it's realistic work, but it's as you're doing it, you have this tool, you have human skin, that's and one thing I learned from you is like you prefer more probably predominantly across the board, is there's certain spots that it's like you can really do amazing because it's a certain surface, and then depending on certain like what are the nightmare spots where you just prefer not to tattoo for whatever reasons.
Ah, man, people are going to hate me for this. Ribs. I don't like ribs. I don't like the chest, not because it's painful, but because I'm a righty, and when you got to lean over someone. It's just basically awkward positions you got to get in. Necks. I hate necks. Don't get your neck tattooed.
I already asked you 4 times.
So I keep telling you.
You kept dodging the bullet. 4 times I went to John.
I've done them all. I've done necks, everything, man. I've never really tattooed a face. I don't.
Well, yeah, I mean, because definitely, you know, as you kind of touched on, the culture is evolving, right? And, you know, I kind of was looking into it, and the history of it is as most as 10,000 years in the making. There's a mummy that they found in the Alps. Had 61 tattoos dating back over 5,000 years. Utsi the Iceman. Ancient Egyptians had mummies that were tattooed. Japanese tattooing Irizumi. And then what really kind of made the connection to I guess to you in New York and all that was that it was largely sailors that kind of popularized it. And I remember, like, you know, I had seen some history on it, that it was soldiers that had gotten, you know, tattoos, and it was primarily like either a badge of honor or kind of a way to separate them from, you know, the general consensus. But it was in New York City, this guy Martin Hildebrandt was apparently the first known professional tattoo artist, and that was in 1846.
All right.
So what's that? Not quite 250 years, but an evolving culture. And then, you know, New York City itself being kind of like the nexus on that. You mentioned the technology, right? This guy.
You're doing a full essay,
you know,
on the podcast.
Full, come on, you know,
limited time.
Oh, it's facts. Listen, he's teaching me stuff here.
You know, we gotta think. You know, to some of these nuts. I mean, I'm sorry, but this guy, Lucky Diamond Rich. You ever look at a picture of that guy? He holds the Guinness record for most tattoos. His whole body is black ink. His whole body's black ink, and then they tattooed white tattoos over it. But really, what I'm really trying to get to is then like the business and the industry of it, right? And I know we talked about it briefly, but the tattoo industry itself is a $1 billion industry, but now the tattoo removal industry is a $4 billion industry. You were telling us about kind of your tattoos. Curious for the audience to hear that kind of development.
So when I started tattooing, you know, I got tattooed, you know, in the 90s, and I didn't really seek anybody out. I want a tattoo. Oh, that guy does tattoos. Okay, yeah, tattoo my arm. You know, I think my first one, I went up to Connecticut, a place in Connecticut. That was a professional tattoo shop. And the second one was just like a guy that I was working with. I'm like, yeah, tattoo my arm. And I didn't even, here's the design I want. And it just threw it on. I sit there and read the newspaper as he's tattooing me. And it didn't turn out the way I wanted it in my head. You know, so I stopped getting tattooed. And then, you know, I started getting tattooed more professionally. I went to Scene, tattooed Richie Scene, tattooed my arm.
Famous Richie Scene.
Artist,
if he's watching this right now, Richie, shout out to you.
That tattoo I kept. I'm giving it that one. But yeah, I got that one done, and then Christopher went around it, did a bunch of work around it from Christopher, gargoyles and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but this arm, I never really, I wasn't crazy about it. You know, the first one I had was the tribal band, because that was the era that we were in. Everyone was getting tribals. I wasn't even in a tribe, and I got a tribal band. So,
Pat has a tramp stamp.
No, I have absolutely nothing.
Yes, he does.
Absolutely nothing.
So anyway, when I opened my shop, I was sitting there tattooing people, and people getting to talking with customers and everything, and they're looking at my arms, and they're like, "Oh, who does your tattoos?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I gotta get rid of this thing, man. I don't even like it, you know." So I didn't know, getting tattooed back in the day, that I was going to turn around and own a tattoo shop, let alone one that's coming up on 25 years in business. I just like, I get this, whatever, it looks cool. But it took me years to realize it wasn't cool. I'm like, I gotta get rid of this thing. So I was looking into tattoo removal, laser removal. And I happened to walk into a place in White Plains that was open there. That was a place that did removal and stuff. It's such a funny story, man. And I walk in there, and the lady there at the time, her name was Kelly. And I said, yeah, I'm looking to get some tattoo removal done, and, you know, this, that, the other thing. And she said, oh, okay. And I just opened my shop. So I wanted to see if I could do some kind of, some kind of deal where, if I send you people, maybe you can tattoo me or remove my tattoos at a discount. But I didn't know how to ask that, so I just went in and I said, yeah, you know, I have this shop and everything. She's like, oh, where's your shop? And she looks at the card, and she turns her computer around, and they were literally looking at tattoo shops to do the same thing, to reach out to people and, hey, maybe we can do something here. If you send us some business, we'll, you know, help you out if you have something you need removed for you or your family member or whatever. So that's how I started my tattoo removal journey, and removed this from my elbow all the way up to my shoulder.
Well, the porn star that you put on my forearm is never getting removed.
You sure?
And the girl that eventually is going to sign up for this, she's going to have to accept that, because nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
And yeah, the porn star is gonna. Have you seen the porn star yet?
No, I mean, listen, I haven't spent a lot of time admiring your body, so that's
Well, you should. You should.
you know,
Yeah.
and this is just coming from, it feels judgy, right? But there's clearly this, what's the word? Taboo about certain kinds of tattoos and locations, right? Automatically, I think of like your face tattoos and, as you mentioned, like neck tattoos and things like that, where basically I see some of these people and I'm like, you must have decided that whatever you're doing right now is what you're doing for the rest of your life. Because good luck walking into the boardroom or a job interview with whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
To even the craziest shit that I saw was eyeball tattooing. What's going on with that?
I'm not touching anybody's eyeball, man. There's plenty of skin to tattoo. I'm not going to
Eyeball tattoo.
Yeah,
I know that was
freaking
possible.
pictures of
Yeah.
opening
I've
up
seen
your
it
eye
before,
and
yeah.
sticking a needle in it. I'm like, holy
I've
shit.
seen it, the whites of your eyes. Yeah, I've seen it done
Yeah,
before.
I
It's
can't.
crazy.
I
So
can't.
one
Someone's
thing I
getting
wanted to say is mention or ask is that you're the owner of a shop. You have a lot of people coming. You did your time. You're a vet. You're gonna have a lot of people, younger people, come in. You have girls tattooing in the studio that are very talented, and they come in and they're new to the game. They haven't put the time that you have. And what's that experience like? So, can you speak on behalf of like running your space, like because of your persona and your character, even if you're not in the shop?
Yep.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you go to Hard Knocks and John is not there, several of his artists will be there. They are the nicest people you will ever meet.
Like I say, they always say it's the people that you surround yourself with that make you, get you to where you
have a zero tolerance for people that are going to come inside with a certain type of energy.
Yeah, you know what? I give people a chance. I'm not the type of person to seek people out and just be like, that guy's, or someone might tell me, don't hire that dude. That guy's a bit of a nut. Well, who knows? Maybe he's perfect fit for my shop. Who
knows?
But I got to commend everybody who works in my shop. Every person in my shop is amazing. I don't have to be there anymore. Everybody has a key. They all have the alarm code. They come and go as they please. This is the type of shop I thought of doing back when I was working at a shop. I was like, why do I have to be here at 11 a.m. until 11 p.m. and then, mop the bathroom up? And, now as a business owner, I still do that. I clean my own toilet in the shop. I'm not afraid to admit it. Like, if it's not going to get cleaned by someone else, I'm going to clean it.
Yep.
So, at the end of the day, it's my shop still, so it's got to be clean. I'm not going to be like, hey, how come you didn't do it? I'm not going to get some apprentice to come in there and, like, treat them badly. You want to learn this art? Go mop this or clean that or wipe the windows down. How's he not learning tattooing like that? You're learning how to respect the shop, but some people just treat them wrong. You don't want to do that. I've never done that to anybody. So,
do you see yourself in like mentorship roles when you have newer people come in that don't have the experience?
Yeah, I don't really offer it like, hey, you should do. People ask me, like the newer artists sometimes in the shop will come in and some of the newer artists we have anyway. And I told them, listen, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, I'm not going to sit there and bark at you and be like, I'm tattooing, get out of here. Just come over, watch what I'm doing. And we don't still do that. There's guys in my shop now, newer guys, and you'll go up there and sit there and look at them fascinated. Like, I'm doing this since '94, and I look at guys in my shop, Ralph Rosa, Chico, and Joe Troy. These guys, I'm sitting there sometimes I look at the stuff and I'm amazed, and I'm like, how do I not know how to do that? Like, these guys are amazing. Like Ryan Mullins now in my shop. Crazy. And you got guys that are we're in the industry, we all watch one another work.
You have artists that have tattooed celebrities.
You got it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
50 Cent's been tattooed by one of your guys.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like as much as you can teach people, you're still learning yourself.
Still learning.
Well.
That's I always say that to people, man. Never stop learning. Once you close your mind and be like, all right, yeah, I know it. Stop doing it. Don't tattoo anymore. Because I see guys that come out now and they're doing this hyper realism, and I'm sitting there going, man, once you think you're at the top of your game, somebody ups the bar, and then somebody else ups that bar, and it's always kind of evolving. Tattooing is just still evolving now.
So then, between your journey as an artist, business owner, what has been kind of maybe some of the low points and then some of the high points, right? So those little victories that are pushing you to continue doing this.
So, when we first opened the shop in the pool hall, it didn't last long because it was illegal. So it was only a matter of time before that was going to get raided or whatever. So the word got around to people, and then the word got around to the wrong people and then to the police. And then next thing they're coming in going, you can't do this, And they were very cool, Police were like, just close the shop down by next week. Otherwise, we're going to confiscate your stuff. So, and we did. I went back to my apartment in the Bronx and tattooed out of there. My second bedroom became my tattoo studio, and back underground and tattooing the neighborhood people, neighborhood friends and stuff like that, friends of friends. And from there, it's like, you know, you start to get people in your apartment that you don't want in your apartment, you know? Like when you tell, it's like, I got to get out of here and get a shop, you know? I don't want the, you know, people in my neighborhood coming in here, and a guy that's not too favorable is coming in with 5 friends now, and I'm tattooing one of them, and the other 4 are nowhere in sight. Where are they? In my living room somewhere?
Yeah.
So I had a friend of mine that eventually became my business partner, and he had lived in a nicer area, and I worked out of he had a second bedroom, worked out of his apartment, and he always said, you know, he's more business oriented. I wasn't. I'm an artist. I don't know how to run a business. No idea. I knew you had X amount of bills and you had to make X amount of money to pay X amount of bills and maybe a little bit more for yourself. That's all I knew. I didn't know anything else. So my old partner, Greg, right? He's very good with money. This shop wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for him. And I always give him props, and he's very humble and like, no, you would have done it. I would have never opened a tattoo shop. I'll tell you that straight up. This guy was always like, dude, you need a space. You got to open a tattoo shop. And I go, it's expensive. I don't have the money. He goes, I have the money. I'll give you the money. Go open a tattoo shop. I'll be your partner and see what happens. And I go, yeah, but my bottom line is if the shop closes, the shop closes. I just don't want to lose a friend over it, you know? So we went around, we did it the legal route. Lawyer kind of did all the paperwork. We became partners. He was a 25% partner. Started shopping around, looking for little locations. Found a space on Kimball Avenue and opened up my first tattoo shop. And that was 320 square feet, tiny, not much bigger than this area here. And it was good. It was just me, another artist, and a piercer. And that was it. And then it grew and had another artist. Then the piercer left. And then a third, a fourth, a fifth artist. Now I got 5 artists in there. This is 2002 to 2011. So 9 years I was in that location. And the place just shrunk because it was like a closet now. I had to start taking walls down. Like, we don't need this booth anymore. We could put 2 guys in there tattooing instead of 1. And now there's like, you know, you're tattooing next to somebody and his legs and arms hanging everywhere, and it's not even the person I'm tattooing. Like, so I said, all right, it's time to scale up. So this guy, Greg, like, if he basically believed in me more than I believed in myself, because I'm like, if I open a tattoo shop, it's going to close, you know? So that was one of the little victories, to find somebody to actually believe in you and give you the funding to go open up a tattoo shop. So I opened the shop, and we outgrow the shop. I moved to Central Avenue in 2011, signed a lease there on a bigger space, 2 floors. Plenty of room now for my artists and everything. So Greg was paid back probably in the first 4 years of business. Calls me up and tells me, hey, man, you know, you're all paid back the loan. Why don't you buy me out? And I'm like, why would you want to do that? For the rest of your life, you can have 25% of this business. That's a great investment. He's like, nah, you're my friend, dude. I can't take money from you for the rest of my life. And he's like, let's come up with a number. We'll go to the lawyer, see what the business is worth. 25% of that will be the payoff, and I'm out. And I did that, paid him the money, signed over the other 25% of the company to me, and now I'm 100% business owner. But by then, it was 7, 8 years into the business. Now I know what I'm doing. You know, I'm not scared anymore.
It takes time.
No, it does.
The whole point of really this podcast, which to me will always be the inspiration, is my mother behind all of this. It takes time.
Yeah, and the right people.
You know, because I feel like it's increasingly we're in a world of this instant gratification. It just doesn't, you know, it would be great. It just doesn't work that way. 9 years into a business, someone believing in you, all of these factors have to come in to create this perfect storm for you to eventually be John Sweeney, the owner of Hard Knox Tattoo Studio. That's a substantial place, and this is not a regular tattoo shop. And I think that translates into basically everything.
Right.
You have to initially, the foundation is you believing in yourself. You work on your craft. You become better. You have the right people around you. They believe in you. They're willing to work, and it just all these things happen for you to get to
Little
that
victories,
space,
man.
and the little victories along the way.
Yeah.
Because you know
Absolutely.
you're getting your shit kicked out of you throughout the course of it because we didn't do that well this month, or this happened, or that happened, or all of a sudden there was a pipe that broke, and then now our studio is compromised. We got to move our stuff around. Any little thing that can go wrong will go wrong throughout the course of time.
Right.
Murphy's Law.
Right.
It's Murphy's Law. Like getting here, this is
Absolutely,
the
yeah.
episode that almost never happened. And it happened. Through no gas in my car, forgot my bank card on the table, got here on no gas as I drove 100 miles an hour to get here. John Sweeney is in the wrong town. You're sitting here just looking up,
Just waiting, thinking about.
college
Luckily-
essays of how you're not going to shut up for the episode, and just all of these things just happened, and we're doing it. But at the end of the day,
the next episode canceled. So
and look, and then because
the next booking canceled, so you got a Little Victory, and we got our
technically we're
we got our
late
show
because
anyway.
we were supposed to record earlier, and then the person after us it worked out.
Yeah.
But it's a relentlessness,
Mm-hmm.
Me and the producer, our producer and I are very close friends,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a relentlessness. I've watched him work on 2 feature films on his own when other people had abandoned the projects, and then he was left alone. And I remember those phone calls with him where he was completely in disarray, and it's typically not his character. He's usually cool, calm, collective, and seeming like everything's okay when it's not. That's his MO. And I did the phone calls with him. I'm like, I wish I could help him, and I can't.
Yeah. Listen, sometimes the doubters is the fuel you need to get you where you want to go.
And years later, and it took time to get these films off the ground into distribution. One film winning a bunch of festivals, but it was like through the times of like, it's impossible that this is going to get done, and it still got done.
Yeah.
And now we're here.
And now we're here. And
Well, like I said, with people doubting you when I first opened the shop, like people, you're not going to do well there. That's a bad neighborhood to do it in, because not it was a bad neighborhood, it was a residential neighborhood. Like it's a pizza store and like where Scotty's Pizza is right there on Kimball, Mile Square Road, and everyone's like, yeah, it's too residential over here. You're not going to make it. Like, oh, there's a tattoo shop around the corner. Why would you open here? You're not going to make it. Like, I'm okay. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about losing customers to that shop. If that shop's worried about losing customers to me, that's not my problem. It's their problem. But I just went through it. I said, no, I'm going to do it. I don't care. Whatever. It's residential neighborhood. If it doesn't work, I got 5-year lease. I'm out. And I thought it was going to last 5 years, and that was it. I have a story to tell.
everybody handles that stuff differently. But for me personally, the way that I am is when I've gotten rid of a substantial amount of people. Thank you. I've gotten rid of a lot of people in my life only because it's a personal issue, because the negativity and the way people had spoken to me in the past or spoken about me behind my back, I had to eliminate that noise, because for me personally, when there's too many people talking down about what I'm trying to do, I start to believe them.
Right.
So when I realize that that's just how I am, so they have to go.
Right.
And, I have this thing about God where I say God takes with one hand and he gives with the other. And it's a scary process, but the victory in that is that once I let these people go that were very negative about my aspirations, God replaced them with better people.
Yeah.
And that's why I have,
This unlucky fellow.
and a producer, and it just gave me fearless,
Yeah.
very relentless, intelligent, loving artist as my core circle.
Right.
Because I would be willing to bet that I would never made it as far as I did without these people around me. Because the first process of saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to open up a shop, I'm going to start tattooing, is scary.
Yeah. It was. I wouldn't have done it. Like I said, I wouldn't have done it unless I had somebody backing me. Yeah.
And so, as we come to a close, is there anything, we need to know about? Any big collaborations, design ideas, expansion efforts?
Man, expansion efforts. We kept expanding already. We've already expanded into my shop. I basically used up all the floor space in my shop now. I have guest artists that want to come in, and I got to tell them I got no room for you anymore. It's like all the spaces are taken up, But I always figure out something. We'll move, people around or scheduling, whatever. I'd love to expand it, get a bigger shop, put everybody on one floor, because right now I have artists on one floor and then some artists downstairs. I'd like to get everybody on one floor. That would be great. So
It'll happen.
Yeah.
Well, the
hopefully it
Little
does,
Victories
man.
also working to expand. We're trying to push Pat out and have him do maybe more behind the scenes stuff. He does great with the videos. He did a sumo clip.
Yeah.
We're under
He looks
contract.
great.
Yeah.
The next episode, I believe Levon Lux will bring a ball gag for him to put in, so he doesn't reach college essays as questions for the guests.
Yeah.
Pat's all right.
Yeah.
He's not a bad guy, Pat.
Yeah. I try not to plan too far ahead with stuff. When you ask what's the plan, I didn't even plan this to happen.
Right.
I had no idea I was going to be in business 25 years.
No, and the other thing too is waiting for this is something that really meant something to me, and I didn't understand it until I lived the journey of life. Is that don't wait till you're ready, because you're never going to be ready.
Right. You plan too much, you're going to, now you got
And,
more to
and
lose.
do you feel like that's part of the story with Hard Knocks?
Yeah, kind of.
Just do it and see
Yeah.
what happens.
Do it and see what happens, man. You know, like when I signed the second lease, it was right during COVID. You know, like our lease was up in that shop, and I was wondering what I was going to do with the place. And next thing, the landlord called me and he said, you know, once your lease is up, you got to renegotiate everything, prices, everything, price per square foot, everything gets renegotiated. So they could have come back to me and said, your rent's double, dude. You know, like if COVID didn't happen, I don't know where the shop may not have stayed there, because they called me up and said, do you think your business is going to make it through this? And I said, I don't know. But, you know, we're closed right now. We can't do anything. So the guy said, well, your lease is up, but, you know, if you want, for people who think your shop will survive this, we're just going to do a straight renewal. There's no renegotiation. We just renew you. I said, put me down for another 10 years then. So there was a little victory right there, you know.
Amazing.
In a dark time like COVID, where you're like, oh, shit, what's going to happen with my business, my family? You know, you didn't know what was going to, you didn't know what the future was going to be, you know. Maybe they would have never let tattoo shops open again because of, you know, the proximity you got to be with people. You got to sit right in front of them. They can't get around that, you know. So yeah, that was a little victory right there, you know, at the timing of that lease ending, and then going, all right, yeah, let's give me another 10 years. So,
Well, Little Victories is going to come into the shop, shoot a video with you guys.
Yeah.
Feature all your artists, etc.
Come on, man.
We look
yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah.
It was an honor to have you.
Thank you,
We're so
John.
excited. Our very first tattoo, not only artist, owner of Hard Knox Tattoo Studio. When you look up the post that we'll be posting, we'll tag that account. You can see the work of John Sweeney, all of the artists. If you're in the Westchester area, you should stop by that shop if you want legitimate work at a high level that you're not going to spend a gazillion dollars on, that's reasonable, that's affordable, but with the top of the line work and the best people that will possibly tattoo you. It's Hard Knox, Hard Knox, KNOX, Hard Knox Studio on Central Avenue in Westchester County. The man himself, this world famous tattoo convention judge, the famous John Sweeney. Ladies and gentlemen, we're honored. We're grateful that he's showed up to the studio, and we actually got this done today. Pat, you were okay today. Thank you for your presence.
Well, at least you showed up. So
I made it for the first time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We look forward. This is episode 19. Next will be 20. Thank you very much, and this is the end of Little Victories.
Thanks for listening. Stay tuned for more wins and more laughs. Follow us at Little Victories Pod on Instagram so you don't miss a thing.